Two structures, separated by time but connected by science. One, an ancient wonder of the world built over 4,500 years ago by a civilization said to only have stone tools and primitive mathematics. And people are always like, well, they use chicken bones and gravity to build it. They use all that shit. Yeah, I think they use stone and big vacuums, all right, and aliens, help from the Anunnaki. Anyways, the other structure we're talking about, a modern marvel designed by history's most enigmatic inventor, Nikola Tesla. This was at the dawn of the 20th century, not that long ago. It is the Wardenclyffe Tower. Both are capable of manipulating electromagnetic energy in ways that challenge everything we thought we knew about human history. Played graphics showing electromagnetic waves concentrating in the pyramid for this next part. In 2018, a physical therapist known as Bob made a discovery that sent shockwaves through the scientific community. Actually, he was a physicist, and his name was not Bob. The Great Pyramid of Giza doesn't just sit there looking pretty, it actually concentrates electromagnetic energy in its chambers when stimulated with radio waves. That's right. 99.3 The Ranch. Whenever we drive past the Pyramid of Giza, we turn on B95. You know, to help stimulate electromagnetic energy in its chambers or whatever. All this stimulation is done with similar frequency ranges that Tesla used in his experiments with wireless power transmission, which he did extensively. Play a flash of lightning, Tara. The Holy Relic. Thank you, the Holy Relic. Show Tesla working in his laboratory. Tesla once said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. By the way, I wrote a paper on Tesla. That's how I graduated high school. And talking to my friend Parker, Dr. Parkenstein, who does all this Tesla stuff, reawakened that interest inside of me. And there is so many Tesla rabbit holes. It is unbelievable. Was Tesla rediscovering things that the ancients already knew? Was the Great Pyramid of Giza not a tomb, but instead a power plant? Play an aerial shot zooming out to show the entire Giza Plateau. And if the ancients knew about this, who taught them how to build it? You know, the Giza experts? Tara, cut to an image of the night sky with stars and then fade to black. In 1943, after Tesla's death, the FBI seized all of his papers. Who was the man who examined them? This is real. Dr. John G. Trump, MIT physicist and uncle of future President of the United States of America, Donald Trump. I just spit my gum out for that one. Now, these papers remain classified to this day. Thank you for showing a montage of newspaper headlines about the 2018 study and the surrounding papers gathered by Tesla, Tara. Thank you. We'll be getting into that a little bit later as well. The John G. Trump connection. I didn't know there was a single physicist in Donald Trump's family. That's crazy. So what did Tesla know? What secrets do the pyramids still hold? I'm not sure. I really actually don't know. Can you comment down below that information? Also, why are powerful people so determined to keep all of this hidden, and why is John G. Trump involved? That was a pretty cool lightning strike across the screen, wasn't it? So let's rewind. All right, not super far, but like a little bit. We have a brilliant inventor named Nikola Tesla. He was born during a lightning storm, and he claims that humanity's oldest structures aren't just tombs for pharaohs, but instead they are sophisticated wireless power plants, or they can be used as such. He actually believed that, by the way. Nikola Tesla believed that shit. He also died in love with a pigeon as well, which is kind of cringe, to be honest. But so is this some kind of coincidence or something? Is this guy just like an idiot, or was he onto something that potentially could revolutionize everything we think we know about ancient civilizations and energy production? I'm gonna be more on the side of a coincidence. I'm not so sure about the ancient civilization stuff. I think it's all mostly bullshit. But this is very interesting because Nikola Tesla is a genius, a tenured genius, smart guy. Today we're going deep on Tesla, the pyramids, and the possibility that ancient civilizations harness technologies that we're only beginning to rediscover. Grab your tinfoil hats, my friends. Firstly, let us talk about the man himself, Nikola Tesla. He was not your average inventor. He was obsessed with the idea of wireless energy transmission and convinced that he could provide unlimited power to the entire world without wires. How? I don't know. In 1901, Nikola began construction on the Wardenclyffe Tower on Long Island, New York. This wasn't just any large tower. There's plenty of those if you want to find one of them. It was designed to be a part of a global network that could transmit energy wirelessly using the Earth as a conductor. The tower stood 187 feet tall with a 68-foot domicus on top of it and an extensive underground network of iron rods and copper plates. Tesla believed that he could inject electrical current into the Earth at the perfect frequency to create standing waves that anyone could tap into anywhere on the planet and give those people free energy. But this is where it starts to make sense. JP Morgan, the financial titan backing the project, pulled his funding when he realized that it was supposed to be free. So obviously the official story isn't that, oh, you can't give free energy, I'm angry about that. The official story is that Tesla changed the scope of the invention, the Wardenclyffe Tower, from just wireless communication to wireless power transmission, which is something that Morgan didn't agree to fund. The conspiracy version is that JP Morgan realized Tesla's invention would make electricity free for everyone, and that destroyed the profitability of the electrical power industry. So obviously,
Sorry, I don't want to invest in technology that would give everyone unlimited free energy.
I'm not sure about that one. They're obviously is a piece of shit. JP Morgan, probably a huge piece of shit. F that guy. I slander him and his whole family. Either way, it is pretty suspicious, but at the same time, you get this crazy guy inventing shit, and he's just like, I'm gonna give everyone free energy forever! Ah! And he's like really expensive, and he's just hard to work with and stuff. I don't know whose side I'm on. Probably Tesla's. Now we gotta talk about the pyramids, though. We can zip across the globe to Egypt. The Great Pyramid of Giza, built around 2560 before Christ. This sumbitch has puzzled archaeologists and engineers for centuries. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do this stupid saying things anymore. How did the ancient Egyptians build a 481-foot monolith with such precision without modern technology? Also, why? The mainstream explanation is that it was a really, really fancy tomb for a pharaoh by the name of Khufu. But here's the thing about that. Old boy wasn't even in there. The sarcophagus was empty when it was unsealed and discovered. There is, however, substantial archaeological evidence that the Pyramid of Giza was built as a tomb for Khufu, but you know, there's conspiracies, obviously. And unlike other Egyptian tombs, the Great Pyramid contained no artifacts, no hieroglyphs, and none of the fun shit, really. So it seems odd for the Egyptians to build the most elaborate tomb of all time, but not draw on the walls and have fun with it? Kind of weird, I think, maybe. But I'm not an ancient Egyptian. Are you sad right now, Petey? Why are you turning away from me? Then we get to the construction itself. The Great Pyramid contains an estimated 2.3 million stone blocks. How the f*** what I just said is actually real is mind-boggling. 2.3 million stone blocks! That's crazy. I mean, I'd say this guy's gravel driveway contains 2.3 million stones. That would make a little bit of sense, but 2.3 million stone blocks, some weighing up to 80 tons. I mean, what is it, like 40% of them are the size of Legos or something like that? It's also aligned to true north with an accuracy of 3 to the 60th of a degree. The base is perfectly level with less than 2.1 centimeters difference between corners, which is unbelievable because the building I'm in right now was built in 2025 and it's not level. The mathematical constant of pi is also encoded in its dimensions. It's not a pile of rocks, fellas and fellettes. It's a really elaborate tomb. And or some kind of wireless electromagnetic energy transmission device that, I don't know, dude. I really don't know. Do you know? Comment down below. So this is where science comes into play. We can talk about some science stuff, some more recent stuff. In July 2018, something wild happened. Something insane, unbelievable, mind-boggling. A team of physicists from Russia and Germany published a study in the Journal of Applied Physics proving that the Great Pyramid can, in fact, concentrate electromagnetic energy. They found that under resonance conditions, the pyramid focuses electromagnetic energy in its internal chambers and under its base. Using computer models and multipole analysis, researchers found that the pyramids, when stimulated with radio waves between 200 and 600 meters in length, it will create resonant states that concentrate electromagnetic energy in the king's chamber. How the f did they know that? How did they figure out how to build that shit? Is it totally a coincidence? All right, and is it weird that I'm thinking that maybe the Great Pyramid of Giza is kind of like a big clit? The geometric shape of the pyramid itself causes this effect, and we know that that was all done intentionally. The lead scientist behind this study, Andrei Evelukin, he said that their results were more striking than any fiction. And if he does that shit again, I'll strike him right upside his head, because he's freaking me the out. So anyways, that's really wild, and this is where it gets even more wild. These wavelengths of the 200 to 600 meters are the similar range Tesla was working with in his experiments on wireless power transmission. And I assume similar to what our boy Dr. Park's out there doing when he's not blowing shit up with nitroglycerin. You're learning about this in a YouTube video in the year 2025, and you're probably hitting the like button and going to sour.gg and buying some candy, maybe potentially. How the did Tesla find this stuff out? Was he just casually interested in pyramids? No. Seemed like he had a slight obsession with them, an unhealthy obsession. Maybe not, maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration. I think that is a misrepresentation and an exaggeration, actually. But I'm gonna go ahead and say it for the video anyways. Tesla was obsessed with the pyramids. He believed the Great Pyramids were gigantic transmitters of energy, and he even built his towers according to the principles inspired by studying the pyramid. In 1905, Tesla filed a patent titled
The Art of Transmitting Electrical Energy Through the Natural Medium.
I like to imagine that's how people talked in 1905, just for fun, when they're not dying from consumption or whatever. In this patent, he outlined designs for generators that would tap into the ionosphere for energy, and his triangle-shaped design became known as Tesla's electromagnetic pyramid. But the shape of the pyramid wasn't what just interested Tesla. He was interested in the location of the pyramids as well. He believed the pyramid's placement was the key to their power. In fact, the sites for his experimental stations in Colorado Springs and the Wardenclyffe Tower on Long Island were chosen according to the same geographical principles as the Giza pyramids, relating to the relationship between the Earth's elliptical orbit and the equator. What does that mean? I don't have any idea. So what if, stay with me here, the Great Pyramid wasn't just a fancy tomb with a B at the end, but instead it was an ancient power plant. Firstly, we have to look at the evidence. The interior is made of granite. I don't know if that's evidence. I'm not exactly sure. Just kidding. I am sure. Granite contains quartz crystal and it's slightly radioactive. Granite, also an excellent conductor of electricity, and the limestone on the exterior of the pyramid is an insulator. The pyramid sits atop an aquifer, and recent discoveries have found copper pipes and iron rods. And research suggests the iron was potentially not placed there contemporary with the construction of the pyramid in that same time frame. So maybe you could ignore that if you want to get really conspiratorial.
There's iron rods! They're transmitting electricity!
The evidence shows that those were added after, I believe. But the copper was there. That's real. That's actually legit. The king's chamber in the pyramid functions as what is known as a Helmholtz resonator, which creates specific acoustic effects that some researchers believe could have been used to vibrate at specific frequencies. I don't know, take a glass in there and get some bitch to sing, or whatever the people do to make shit explode nowadays. The Grand Gallery of the Pyramid, its design appears engineered for amplification, and some theorists believe that hydrogen gas created through a chemical reaction in the Queen's chamber would flow through the horizontal passage into the Grand Gallery. I don't know what exactly is going on or why you would ever think that, but that's what people think. There's also extensive underground tunnel networks that have been detected around and beneath the pyramids, and these tunnels could have channeled water and negative ions to the pyramid structure. Does this all sound familiar? That is because it kind of is familiar, and it bears a striking similarity to Tesla's wireless power technology. Are they really that similar? Yes, extremely similar. They both use the Earth as a conductor, both involve resonant frequencies, and both are designed to transmit energy wirelessly. And both get me hard. Hard like a fucking rock. Oh. Now this is where some of the more interesting theories come in, and even the Bosnian pyramids. You ever heard of the Bosnian pyramids? You're about to hear a little bit about the Bosnian pyramids. One fascinating theory comes from an electrical engineer by the name of Yuri. I don't know how to say that name. This guy studied both Tesla's work and the pyramid structures, and according to his research, pyramids function as generators of negative ions that operate automatically based on atmospheric conditions. Zuchik explains, a crystalline pyramid with the belonging underground rivers and tunnels functions as a generator of useful negative ions with automatic power regulation, Ed boy. Tesla had some rain engineering technology that operated on a similar principle. They used strong ionization of the atmosphere to create favorable conditions for developing life in desert regions. Tesla, along with being totally obsessed with the pyramids, was also obsessed genuinely with weather modification and, how he could interfere with the natural principles of how that works. He had rain engineering technology, and it operated on a similar principle. Basically, the pyramids could be seen as using strong ionization of the atmosphere to create favorable conditions for developing life in desert regions. So they're like life-creating machines. Interesting. We need to reduce the squiggle amplitude. So this theory suggests that the pyramid draws negative ions from underground water sources and tunnels using the piezoelectric effect, where mechanical pressure on certain crystals generate an electric charge. So when atmospheric conditions change, the pyramid automatically adjusts the amount of negative ions it releases, which is a very interesting concept. And even more incredibly, Russian geophysicists have measured specific frequency oscillations in various pyramids, with each pyramid having its own distinctive and signature frequency. So this could suggest that pyramids may function as giant oscillators, perhaps tuned to specific cosmic frequencies. Am I right, my fellow Pleiadian starseeds? I don't really know, dude. If you're a Pleiadian starseed, press like. This is where things are getting kind of dark. There's something here, absolutely. It's impossible to deny that this is an extremely interesting at the very least. Petey, can you stop licking my arm, please? After Tesla's death in 1943, the FBI seized all of his papers and research. Why? Why do you think? The official story is that they were worried his technology might fall into enemy hands during World War II, and then there's a conspiracy theory which probably isn't real, but who knows? The theory is that they wanted to suppress his free energy discoveries that threatened the power of the electric monopolies, which there is also evidence that conspiracy theory is real in the way our current market works. And it isn't just with electricity, it's with everything. Everybody always wants control. It's cheaper to buy and acquire than it is to create anew. And if something is so powerful that you can't even acquire it because the guy doesn't ever want to get rid of it, and you can't create it yourself, what do? You have to get rid of it. You have to just get rid of it totally, and that's what the FBI essentially did with all of Tesla's goods, which that's my opinion. I'm an amateur when it comes to the free market and how things work, and I'm not a scientist, nor am I a genius, but it seems like that makes sense. This is a bit of a side point, but it is somewhat intriguing. John G. Trump, mentioned him already. Donald Trump's uncle was the MIT scientist tasked with examining Tesla's papers for the government. That's extremely interesting. I mentioned this is where things kind of derail a little bit and get a little more wild. You're gonna have to stay with me here. There's a novel that released in November of 2024 called Tesla and the Pyramid. This novel is science fiction, self-admitted science fiction, but if you go to the fellow's Twitter page and you look at this stuff, some of this is too plausible and interesting and fascinating to be just blatant science fiction. If you read this to me and said this is all true, I really wouldn't even be surprised, which is messed up. But it claims John G. Trump seized Tesla's exotic zero-point energy and scalar physics research, which, by the way, still remains classified to this day, and that is why we still don't have free energy potentially today, in spite of Tesla demonstrating it, that it was possible over a century ago, and Dr. Parkenstein doing the exact same thing, just on a smaller scale. And the explanation in the novel in regard to the pyramids is why mainstream archaeology has resisted alternative theories in regard to the pyramids and their purpose, in spite of mounting evidence that they were probably more than just tombs, which it makes sense that they're just tombs too. No, I'm the worst devil's advocate because I'm really a devil's advocate for all sides. So believe the craziest shit, and if you show me evidence, I will believe it. Just show me, man. But in the meantime, wouldn't be surprised either way. Let's talk a little bit more about this novel. By the way, I'll have a link to it down below. This is the strangest part of this video. Tesla in the Pyramid. Some people believe that this could potentially be a form of soft disclosure, which is the revealing of classified information through fiction to kind of familiarize people with an idea, and then you disclose, and then things aren't as crazy. That's what people believe are happening with these little beans flying around the TikToks. The TikTok, swipe, TikTok. It's an alien. Oh! It'd be worse if it was like signs where there's just an alien there. Oh God! I'm not going to go to work tomorrow. But instead, the government's like, there are unidentified flying objects, but they're humans. Don't worry. And then they're like, well, maybe they're not humans. Maybe they're aliens. We don't know where they came from. And then we're like, well, what about the ones in the 90s? So that's kind of soft disclosure. The government has been known to do that in the past, and it's just like a way to prevent hysteria. Anyways, back to the novel. It quietly dropped on November 16th, 2024 with very little fanfare. And 48 hours later, energy orbs started appearing in New Jersey across the river from Tesla's old residence. Coincidence? Yes. The book features a Cybertruck being demolished at a pyramid, and shortly after the publication, a real Cybertruck exploded near a pyramid-shaped building in Las Vegas. Coincidence? Probably as well. Also, the author's last name is Brown, which is a color, and the same last name as Townsend Brown, a Caltech pioneer in exotic energy research who developed the asymmetrical capacitor that zero-point energy theorists claim could revolutionize civilization. So, the points are, he's kind of like the John G. Trump to Donald. He's kind of like that. He's like the Donald Trump to John G. Trump, more so. Even more bizarrely, the novel predicted a scan would reveal a stairway 2 miles underground Giza. And in March 2025, a team of researchers led by Corrado Malanga and Filippo Biondi held a press conference claiming to have discovered underground structures beneath the Giza Plateau. They claim that their synthetic aperture radar, aka SAR scans, revealed vertical cylinders or shafts descending approximately 2,100 feet, about 640 meters underground with spiral pathways, which that's crazy as well. Now, there are a lot of haters who are saying that that's not true and you can't actually send that stuff and you can't find that stuff out down below the earth and all that shit. And I say, you. Worry about your squiggle distance, all right, bitches, and your zigzag amplitude or whatever the doing in your... The novel's epilogue, set 6 months after the main events, describes a world transformed by Tesla's rediscovered technology. And in this future, pyramid structures around the world have shaken to life, providing unlimited clean energy and making humanity a Type 4 civilization on the Kardashev scale, which is that amazing science fiction idea of civilizations and their levels of technology and whether or not they'll ever actually break out of the chains that bind them. The epilogue also mentions Project Tesla building new pyramids across the world, suggesting humanity has rediscovered ancient knowledge that has been repeatedly lost. So, is it just science fiction? Probably. Or is it a really smart guy who wrote a very compelling story and, is pulling from a mountain of information and evidence that people really wish was true, and who knows? Maybe it is. I ironically say I want you guys to comment down below on that one. Seriously, what do you think about this? Because I read the book, it's 460 some pages, something like that. It's very interesting. Anyways, let's talk about a Bosnian pyramid conspiracy. The Bosnian pyramids. These are hills that some researchers claim are actually the largest and oldest pyramids on Earth. This is according to Zujic, our old buddy from earlier. According to him, these structures function as ionizers that continue to operate thousands of years after being built. His quote, "Bosnian pyramids are covered in green vegetation and landscape around them is marked with green valleys with plenty of beneficial negative electric charges which come from under the pyramids." Continuous ionization of the atmosphere has preserved local ecosystems, and in contrast, Zujic notes that the Egyptian pyramids are surrounded by desert, suggesting they may no longer be functioning as designed. If this is true, if the Bosnian pyramid thing is true, which probably isn't, but if it is, it suggests that the builders of the pyramids possess technology even more advanced than Tesla's technology. All this information is so interesting and remarkable, and it's unbelievable that it isn't talked about a little bit more. I'm glad this book came out. It's a great read. It's a great read. I recommend going and picking it up. It seems like there's some really odd coincidences. And sure, it could all be coincidence, and causation doesn't equal correlation, and all that stuff. I get it. But what's more fun is believing in fairy tales. Anyways, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, press the like button down below and join the Gump Club. Go to gump.club to get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to footage. I record a beginning chunk and an end chunk of every single video with just more content. And we cut way less out. We leave more edge in the videos on the Gump Club cuts, and it massively supports the channel. Too Late Show, do a live show every week where we have guests, and musical guests, and all sorts of really cool stuff. And then main channel where we do drama, slop, and some conspiracy stuff. I want to do more conspiracy stuff, I think. So anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.